Welcome to Ken's Corner Podcast, Season 4.
Hi everyone, it's Ken from Ken's Corner, and today I'm with professional wrestler Pretty Ricky Willdy.
Howdy. I'm doing top notch. I'm just so happy to be here, Ken. Thanks for inviting me to your corner. How are you today? How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm doing great. The weather's great outside, and back with a wrestler. I haven't had a wrestler in so long. It's great to be back on the show. I actually witnessed you out in Oshawa.
Okay.
What is it called? The Pro Wrestling Eclipse.
Pro Wrestling Eclipse, absolutely. Was that at the Convergence Fair or was that in the
It
venue?
was.
The Convergence Fair. Okay, so that right there tells us that us doing that fair is worth our time because we got exposed to you and now you know me. So my job was done and I was very happy to be there. Yeah, we had the Convergence Fair that day. I don't know if you remember that too well, but I remember showing up that morning and it was pouring down rain and the ring was outside. So I recognized very quickly that my knees were in jeopardy and that my biggest opponent was not necessarily across from me, but it was protecting all of my joints as the ring was slippery. So I dominated that guy. You remember, I beat the holy heck out of that guy, and it was during a downpour. So I really do commend myself for my professionalism in that time moment.
I can't disagree with you at all, and I really like how you hulk out. That's just amazing to see in the ring. We're going to get back to that though.
Please.
We're going to go back to young Ricky. Let's go back and tell our watchers, our viewers here today, why you became a professional wrestler. What led you to the world of wrestling?
Well, I wish it was a different story. I wish it was a little bit more enigmatic, but unfortunately, it's a very similar story to a lot of pro wrestlers. I got into it at a very young age. By the time I was 4 years old, I was completely obsessed with it. Now, if you do the timeline on all that, when I was a young man was the Attitude Era. So there are some questions for my parents as to why a 5-year-old was being allowed to watch 1999 WWE Raw. But life goes on in that sense, and it made me the man that I am today. So, Stone Cold Steve Austin was a very present father figure in the household, and that did have a couple of connotations later on, but for the most part, honestly, my grandmother was obsessed with it. Her grandmother was obsessed with it. So wrestling's always been in the household. I like to joke that I wrestled the Honky Tonk Man, but my mom was cheering for him because Honky Tonk Man was in the house before I was, if all things are considered, to be fair. So from there, I was obsessed with wrestling my whole life, and like most people, I was told that there was no way it was going to happen, and that I should give up on that dream, and that I should pump gas. And by all rights, I'd be very happy to be pumping gas in Brantford. It's a good city and it's a good job. But I decided that, I was going to test my luck and I was going to try it. So I got into university and I did that so that I could be on the University of Toronto wrestling team. And I did as well as I could there. But those skills were able to translate because the summer that I graduated, coincidence, I don't believe in coincidences. It was a convergence. There was also an audition at the Super Pro Show, which is the bodybuilding exposition in Toronto. But during that festival, there was a competition put on by Santino Marella for Battle Arts Academy in Mississauga. And whoever won got a full years of training for free. So I was originally planning that summer to move out to Calgary to go train with Lance Storm, but I ended up at that festival. I won that competition. I was able to start my free training at Santino Morella's wrestling school, and so I picked up my life and I moved to Mississauga. For the next 2 years, I was going to Battle Arts Academy, and I cannot say enough good things about my training and my time there. The only regret is that I didn't work hard enough. I didn't take it seriously enough. I didn't put enough effort in, but it did really consume me. It did become my entire life for a long time. And, my parents, my family members were looking at me going, Ricky, you sure this is a good decision? You sure that you've graduated university and now you want to go live in a basement and be a pro wrestler? And absolutely was the answer. Absolutely was the answer. So I put all my chips into that. And eventually that led me to being able to meet Chris Thorne, and he took me on the Northern Death Tours across Northern Manitoba and into the Northwest Territories. So very remote locations. But through that, I really did get the reps and the experience that I need to be able to come back onto the local scene and really expose myself as Pretty Ricky Willdy. And since then, honestly, there's just been a lot of momentum and excitement around me. And it seems like all those years where I thought maybe I had something to contribute to the world of wrestling, it turns out that I did. And the people around me have been very appreciative. So I've just been, I'm so grateful and so thankful that my brand of entertainment has been appreciated by the people around me and that I've been able to perform the way that I have.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I want to know what leads you into the ring, Ricky. Like, talk about your ring attire and your music.
Absolutely. My gear, I wanted to make sure that I looked like a professional wrestler as much as possible because, it's a little bit of a side tangent here. I run a professional wrestling show. It's called Kill Ricky. And the idea there is that younger guys, doesn't have to be younger guys, anybody can sign up. Josh Alexander is interested in signing up, just for all those young guys out there who think they're too good to come on. Anyways, young guys are more than welcome to sign up. If you're trained, you're in, you can throw your name in the bucket. And one of the big things that I'm picking on is your gear, because if you're showing up to be a professional wrestler, you have to look the part. So I chose gear that I thought would accentuate my positives, hide the negatives, and try to make myself look like a professional. And the first time I ever wrestled a big name was Colt Cabana. It was for SKM Promotions. Shout out Shane Markle. Shout out Christy Carvello. Those guys gave me my big break. So when I got to the back, I'm covered in anxiety. That's just who I am, a very anxious man. And I was talking to a good friend of mine, Bradford Montague, and I said to Bradford, I don't know if I did as well as I could have. And he told me more or less to shut up, and that I was being one of those kids in high school who got a 98 on the test and was complaining that I didn't get 100. And he said the number one thing he noticed when I walked out of the entranceway, I looked like a professional wrestler. So, that involves the boots, that involves the gear, and it's translated a little bit over the time. I started out as all gold. I saw myself as like an Emmy statue, something like that, something to be obtained. I was a trophy in and of myself. The colors have kind of added into my life because as I've gotten deeper into wrestling, I've seemed to have lost my mind just a little bit more than I was prepared for when I first got signed up. So the colors have changed, but number one thing, my biggest problem when I got started with professional wrestling, not enough tassels. There needed to be more tassels in wrestling. So I'm covered in tassels. Even now, I got the jingle jangles attached to me. I got a little tassel, a little sway, because there needs to be constant movement, constant motion when I'm coming through. So that's my attire. That's what I try to do. Number one thing, everything needs to be personalized. It needs to have my name, my face, as much as possible all over me. I want to brand myself and be very clear about who I am. Beyond that, we get into my music. So typically, I come out to You're the Best Around by Joe Esposito. It is the Karate Kid theme song, but I will make this admission. This is a late-breaking exclusive for your podcast. I'm not a huge fan of the Karate Kid movie. I'm not a huge fan of the Karate Kid series. I've seen the original movie. It was fine. I'm just not a huge fan of it. Honestly, the song comes from me, from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's where the song really got stuck in my head. And that song just seems to be exactly the energy that I need to pull together to go out entrance way. I played around with a couple of different songs. Oliver Tree's 1993 is another one that I often use when I'm in Eclipse and in Oshawa and a few other places. That's typically where it gets played the most. But honestly, You're the Best Around by Joe Esposito does put me into the mindset, does make me feel the most like this is the show. We are getting going. This is the moment. I did have a problem very early on in my career that I would often be exhausted by the time my entrance was done because I was putting the entirety of my effort, my humanity, my mind force into that moment. And by the time the bell rang, I was thoroughly exhausted. So I've gotten a little bit better on that. But honestly, when I come out of that curtain, it is such an adrenaline-filled, anxiety, pumped-up mess that I'm coming out with as much energy as I can that sometimes I do lose track of where I am and what's happening by the time I make it to the ring. But that's all intentional. That's all the gear. That's all the music, putting me into the mindset that I need to be when the bell rings, which is I am coming at the guy who's across the ring from me.
Yeah, it's funny that you actually mentioned Bradford Montague, aka Spider-Man. I actually met with you downtown one day.
Absolutely.
He's the very first wrestler that's ever been on Ken's Corner. So you being his friend is very exciting for me. Can you just walk me through maybe a funny memory that you have of interaction with Bradford during wrestling?
Oh, I have too many to count. Bradford is one of my closest friends, and I really do think the world of that man. A description that was given to me very early on was somebody made the comment they wish they were as nice of a human being as Bradford Montague. And I don't know if I found a person who is more honest, sincere, genuine, right to his core. He is a very good man. So some of my favorite memories of Bradford are when I first met him, I thought he was a real unpleasant person, and I didn't like him. We had a couple of car trips where we didn't get along. That quickly dissipated, and we both found that each other's sense of humor was bingo bango right on top of each other. So one year for Christmas, I got him I found a plaqued version of the movie poster Euro Trip, and I wrapped it up and I put it into the locker room. So during a show, he had to unwrap a big package that said "To Brad," and then it was an enormous poster of Euro Trip. That really cracked me up. I thought that was funny. One year during the pandemic, I had a birthday party over Zoom because I was hosting a a podcast. Bradford ended up showing up in full Spider-Man costume, so I did greatly appreciate that. Bradford's ended up living at my house at some point because we went on a wrestling road trip to Tennessee, and we ended up blowing up his van accidentally. We had to take a rental car and some shuttles. Harvey Whippleman was actually the pull-through that got us back to Canada, fortunately for that, because Bradford had to be on a game show that day. That's just the kind of lifestyle that we're leading. But he ended up staying at my house for a bit where we got real into ice baths. So we were jumping into the Grand River pretty routinely during February. I can't say enough good things about that guy. I would go to war for that guy. He is as good of a human being as I've ever met, and he deserves all the money and fame and accolades in the world because he is a star waiting to be discovered. And I'd like to believe that I discovered him. But Bradford, beyond being a star, is a really good man right to his core. And that's not something I can say about a lot of people in wrestling, but Bradford, I would put my name on the line for gladly.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's an amazing analyst of a great wrestler. Now, I just want to know where we can find Pretty Ricky Willdy. If I said that right, I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Where can we find you? Well, first in your social media and your upcoming events.
So you can find me all over. I'm involved with a ton of projects and a ton of things. I got a lot of irons in the fire. So I've been involved with 2 short movies this year. The Ref Didn't See It just premiered recently. And then a different one by a man named Luke Perrin, who's also on the scene. He's put together another short film, and that's going to be going to the Canes Film Fest coming up very soon. So Ricky's got things all over. I was also working for the WWE earlier this year doing backstage help. But if you wanted to find me on social media, you can find me at Pro Willdy. That's PROWILLLDY. That's across all social medias. That's your Twitters, Facebooks, Instagrams, YouTubes. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on Tinder. I have grown up and I'm a bit of an old man at this point. So those are my main social medias. You can find me there. You can also find me through Brantford Wrestling. That's not Bradford Wrestling, though he is there a lot. It does get confusing. Brantford is the city that I'm from and the city that I love. But Brantford Wrestling is something that I'm involved in. So you can find me through Brantford Wrestling, and we're trying to get more shows off the ground. But we also have a new show named Kill Ricky. Now, if you're not familiar with the show Kill Tony, Kill Ricky is the wrestling version of that. We have stolen the formula and we're doing our own thing in Battle Arts Academy in Mississauga. So we filmed it twice. We've released nothing online. We're still figuring out the technical aspects of it, but it's a free show and you're more than welcome to come on out, come view a few wrestlers trying their best and myself talking on the microphone for probably too much. So this is late breaking news. This has never been said online. I'm going to post it tonight. So you're getting the exclusive here. November 4th. It's a Monday. It's the next time we're doing Kill Ricky. So November 4th on a Monday, come on out to Battle Arts Academy. If you're a trained wrestler, throw your name in the bucket. You might get a free minute uninterrupted in front of a live audience. If you're not a wrestler, please come join the audience, join the fun. It's the new Ontario Indie Hangout, and we're looking for fans and wrestlers to have a good time. So please do come out to support Battle Arts Academy on Monday, November 4th. That same day, there will be a Phil Hartman memorial being put up in Brantford. Phil Hartman is a comedian. You might know him from Lionel Hutz from The Simpsons. He was shot to death by his wife in the 90s. Unfortunately, Phil Hartman is one of the brightest stars to ever come out of Brantford, and thankfully the city is paying homage to a true legend, a true icon, Phil Hartman, somebody who I hold very near and dear to my heart. Unfortunately, I never got to meet the man, obviously, but he's a Brantford alumni. He's a comedy legend, and we do think a tremendous amount of him. So November 4th on a Monday, Phil Hartman will be getting a mural in Brantford, and we were very excited about that as well. Kill Ricky will be taking place in Battle Arts in Mississauga. So I'm all over the place, and you can find me all over.
All right. Will we see you in Oshawa soon, Ricky?
Absolutely. So the next Oshawa show coming up for Eclipse, I will be there, and I will be teaming with Tarek. What's up? Tarek's about as good as it gets on the scene, so now I am being put in the same conversation. Listen to that, Ontario. So yeah, me and Tarek are hanging out. We're best friends now. We're a tag team, and we're taking on the Flatliners. And these two are no joke. They're as serious as it gets. They're phenomenal. They're the kind of team that I was watching before I actually entered into the professional wrestling scene, and I recognize that these guys cause damage. So am I nervous? Absolutely. Am I excited? 100%, because I will be coming at 100 miles an hour trying to hit those guys as hard as I possibly can. That's Matt Burns. More importantly, that's Asylum. They're looking to cause trouble for Ricky, so I'm going to be causing trouble for them. I do not back down. And unbelievably, thankfully, I got Tarek by my side, so it's going to be a heck of a contest in Eclipse. If you're anywhere near Oshawa, you got to check that show out. It's going to be tremendous.
Yeah, Matt Burns is from the town that I'm from, so I know him well, and I know who the Flatliners are. You do have your hands full, but I do know that Pretty Ricky Willdy is one heck of a wrestler.
Come
Now,
on, baby.
we're at the end of our show here today. I do thank you, but I'm going to leave the floor open to you for anything that you would like to add to our podcast here today, Ricky.
Ken, just notice the merit of the man, because I'm deciding with this open platform that you're giving me, I want to give it right back to you. Ken, I want to say thank you so much for having me on this interview. I really do appreciate it. And how underrated having fans doing things like this really means to the people who are trying to put on the entertainment, because for you to take the time to interview me, to edit this podcast, to put this online, this means that it means something to you. So for us to have left enough of an impression that you think that I'm worth your time to talk to me, to go through this, genuinely means the world to me. There is nothing more I wanted to be since I was a child than a professional wrestler. And moments like this, talking to fans like you, makes me feel like we have actually hit that mark of being a professional wrestler. So Ken, thank you so much for having me on today. And to the audience, thank you so much for listening to Ken's Corners podcast.
Thank you so much. That's very kind words. My name's Ken. We're here on Ken's Corner podcast today with professional wrestler Pretty Ricky Willdy. Have a great day, Ricky.
You as well. Thank you for having me.
Say hi to Bradford for me.
Absolutely. If you see him first, you say hi.
I will do. You have a great day.
You too, Ken. See you now.